Recording in 3, 2,
Well,
1.
here we go.
Yep.
Recording.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. I'm recording.
All right. So, hello everyone. It is me, GrimmsleyBear, your headmaster. We are now going to talk about Palworld, and I'm joined by two students of mine. We have Bane. Yes, students. Yes, you're students now. You've applied, and I've accepted you both.
Where was the fine print of this application?
You didn't read it because there was none. I didn't put any because fuck you guys. That's why.
Of
Anyways, you're
course.
now students. I definitely did not kidnap you. Uh, I'm your headmaster. Welcome to Grimsley's Academy of Sorcery, Bane. You're the newest student. And as the new student, you get to introduce yourself first. Go.
Hello, hello. My name's DragoBane, Bane for short, and help me, I've been kidnapped.
You're a student. You've not been kidnapped.
Sure. Let's go with that.
You're learning sorcery now. And the next student we have is Rebel. Go ahead.
Hello there. My name is RebelInkling 96, and I applied. I definitely was not kidnapped into joining this, but here we are.
There you
Wait,
go. So we are going to be talking about Palworld this today. Yeah. So
Yippee!
to begin, what do you both know about Palworld? Let's start with Bane. What was your first impression of how you first found out?
When I first found out that Palworld was a thing, it was a couple years before the game actually came out. And honestly, when I first saw it, I thought this is just something that a memer came up with, to be perfectly honest. But as time went on, I found out quite a bit more about it, and it actually turned out to be a pretty decent gameplay that I could get into, honestly.
Okay. And you, Rebel, how'd you first find out about it?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not know anything about Power World up until recently, so I never heard about it or anything. I mostly found out because of a couple of friends of mine and Twitter.
Okay.
Funnily enough.
Honestly, that's understandable. When I first found out Power World, it was when they first released any information about it. I've been pretty much watching them and keeping an eye on the development since the beginning. And it was always interesting to me because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, a survival. I was like, oh, Pokemon with guns, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought of too. When I
Yeah,
first
And
same.
I did not know it would end up being what it is now, which we'll get into that later. Um, so yeah, so let's go a bit about the game's background. Palworld is developed by Pocket Pair. It's an independent company based in Tokyo, specifically Shinagawa. It is their second game, their second early access open world survival project. Because they first did, I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, Craftopia.
I've heard of that, but it just never
Mhm.
seemed like something I could get into. But I did not know
Yeah,
that they were the ones that made that. Very interesting.
Yep.
very interesting.
I never heard of Craftopia, I'll be honest. Not until
Same.
doing a little bit of research. I was like, oh,
Yeah. So,
Craftopia. Never heard of it.
from what I saw of Craftopia, it is also another Breath of the Wild like style game that is, of course, you can craft, slightly automate things, but more than that, it's just a game where you can build, different structures to survive. You go off to gather more materials. It's your basic survival game.
All right. All right. Well, yeah, that's some of the background. It seems like uh, when they were kind of going for this game, it's like the original concept was probably just Pokemon with guns, but then they tried to make it more different, more unique, I guess. But I don't know
Yes.
much about that. Because I'll be honest, I did very light research, but that's how this works. It's just light research. We're just shooting the shit.
So you
So
do have to wonder what was going through their minds when they
no,
first
I
thought
want
of
to
this
know.
game.
I want to know what was going on through them. I was like, where did they come up with this idea? What were they like? Oh, You know that meme, Skyrim but with guns? Let's make Pokemon but with guns. Was that what
I
they were
can
thinking?
literally just picture a
Yeah.
member of the development team to just literally be on his phone looking, and then the next board meeting, like, okay, we need a new game. Well, what should we make? And he just shows the meme.
And he's just like, hey, you see this meme? Let's make that into
This
a
is
game. But there's already
yes.
a Skyrim with guns. No. Let's do, instead of Skyrim, let's do Pokemon, but with guns.
We're gonna get sued.
Don't worry, we'll
But,
call
like-
them. We'll call them something else. Something like I don't know, cause you know how Pokemon are your friends. Let's call them pals.
Yeah. Though I mean, like, it really does
Originally,
show
yeah.
like how far things can go at certain points, because like, have either of you heard of the song "Diggy Diggy Hole"?
Yes,
That is-
that is
Obviously.
classic.
So,
That's a
Yeah.
classic.
so do you know how it was first created?
No.
From
do
what I
not.
remember, it was Yog's cast, but I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, it was literally created by a bunch of content creators that were just simply playing Minecraft, and it was a joke. From then on, it went to be something else entirely. It went from being a remix song, a funny remix song, to being an actual song, to being made by, or to being recreated by a rock band. When I first started Palworld, I thought this is another one of those moments where some person just came up with a funny meme. It grew and evolved into this.
That makes sense to me, honestly, because like, it seems like the game started off as just like, it's kind of a joke, and then they were like, you know what, let's actually make this good, because
Yeah.
it's good. It's in just what was, I'm trying to remember the number. I have it here. Hold on. Yeah, in total, the budget exceeded 1 billion yen, right?
Oh golly.
And
Oh god.
that's a lot. But the game
Yeah.
sold 8 million units in its first 6 days of early access, and has currently reached over 2 million concurrent players on Steam, making it the second highest played game of all time on Steam itself.
That's scary. That's really scary.
And not just that, it's on Game Pass, which
Yeah, which
it's on Microsoft Game Pass, which means it's got even more players because the people are playing it for free on Game Pass. So think about that. So it's probably has even a couple more million. So, and they also get a percentage of anyone who downloads it from Game Pass. So they probably made back their money.
which is
and
which
it's
is
not-
a lot.
and it's not going to be another screw up like the last few games have been during the end year of 2023.
No, yeah, no.
Oh god, don't get me started on those.
That's the conversation for another time.
That would be a
Yeah.
conversation for another time. I actually, at one point, do want to get into the conversation of Gollum, but that'll be for
Oh.
another time.
For the love of everything grim, don't make us record videos of that.
Oh,
please.
don't worry.
no.
I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
please.
even touch that game. I'm just gonna have a picture of Gollum up on screen for the entire thing. Just an ugly.
Make it a
Make it a
side
very
by
crappy-
of the Gollum game Gollum, and then just a disappointed Gollum.
Oh, I will. That's what's
No,
gonna happen.
no, make Gollum like a very crappy drawing of Gollum.
Just say, "What is
Yeah,
this crap?"
you know what? I'm just gonna do an MS Paint of Gollum, my best of Gollum, and then just have the real Gollum pointing at him, going, "What is this?
What is this heresy that I'm looking at?
This is not my precious." Anyway, so, but you know, that's a bit of the background of the game and how well it's doing, and it's amazing to see an indie studio like this, whose only utter claim to fame was another kind of yeah, you could say kind of rip off, but it's not really. Let's be honest, you know. But-
More like a parody.
Yeah.
More like a parody.
A
Yeah.
parody.
Yeah, because that's what this game is. It's just a parody.
Mhm.
And I praise it because it's a parody that has actual love and care within it.
Unlike Pokemon.
Yeah,
But see, no,
that's
but
the funny
but that's
thing.
the-
That's the funny
yeah.
thing. This game is doing what the Pokemon games should be doing. Not the like, you know, abuse and shit that you see.
Obviously.
But-
but, like-
no.
The open world aspect that they could
Mm.
have with Pokemon. It doesn't have to be a survival game. But
Well,
even though I
in
would love to
that,
see a Pokemon survival game in general, but
yeah,
like I'm talking about like just an open world Pokemon game like this, like an actual open world. I mean,
we'll see.
short. They're sort
That's the
of
thing,
they're dipping their toes in
because
it with fucking Scarlet and
with
Violet.
the yeah, and see, like that's the impressive part of it. I forget what the new ones are called.
Arceus,
Or says, yeah.
Arceus, Scarlet, and
Uh,
Violet.
yeah, see, I played, I believe it was Violet, and
Hmm.
like it has that open world aspect. It is a really good um upgrade for Pokemon as a whole. The problem with it though is that if you've
Hmm.
played any of the older versions of Pokemon, you'll see it's one of those types of games where it leads you to the next objective. It's not an open world.
Yeah,
You have a set path where you can go, but it leads you to the next objective.
it's like a
With this
semi-open
newer,
world.
yeah, with this newer Pokemon that they have, they're kind of getting rid of that aspect. Yeah, it's open world, but they throw everything at you all at once. And even I was overwhelmed with it. I didn't know, okay, what do I go do first?
I just
What
killed myself by
is more
accident. Oops.
but I didn't know where to go because, like, with every Pokemon game, depending on where you go, the further you go into an area, the more powerful things are going to be.
Hmm.
I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do, and so I was kind of overwhelmed by it. But this, with Palworld, it has the open world aspect. It eases you into things. There's no real end goal. It
Hmm.
just lets you do what you feel like you want to do, and that's another thing that I do like about Palworld.
Yeah.
Kind of like Breath of the Wild. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like Breath of the Wild, where and I hate to say this, also kind of like Skyrim when they were talking about Skyrim, where it's like you see that mountain, you can climb it, you know, and same thing with Breath of the Wild. You see that mountain, you can climb it. Same thing here. You see a mountain, you can climb it. You
Hmm.
know, the entire world is your playground here,
yeah,
Hmm.
and
and
I like that aspect because it's like it's something different. You know, we've been getting the same types of open worlds where it's like, oh, there's a tower here. Get that tower, you reveal part of the map. You know, just like the Ubisoft formula, which gets boring after a while. And this is
honestly, it
something that's
does.
different. You know,
Yeah.
and that's why I praise Breath of the Wild and other open world games like this because it's something different. You know.
Yeah, and it gives people ease of access when it comes to
Hmm.
exploring different areas, or like it doesn't overwhelm you. It eases you into it
No, yeah,
and
like
helps you progress along the
like
way.
for instance,
Like,
the area I'm in is a tutorial area, and it still eases you into the game. It gives you like a good couple of tutorial objectives that allows you to figure out what you're supposed to be doing, and even then, there's like it gives you that freedom to like, hey, you can do this here, or you can go to a different area if you want to. You know.
yeah, but it's all up to you. Now, granted, yeah, the difficulty does increase rather quickly, like
Hmm.
with certain raids. Like at one moment you'll be dealing with a bunch of level 4s. The next, after a few days, you'll get your next raid, and boom, you're dealing with like level 10s or level 15s. But that just goes to show you that you just can't relax. You do have to grow and progress. But again,
Yeah.
it eases you into it.
Yeah, but
You have to do your character's research items. You have to build up your pal team.
Right.
You have to build your base. It's not one of those survival games where you can go without a base. No, you need a base.
hmm
Yeah.
Hmm. And then there's so much to it that gives it that like that
yeah, and
that
game
how do you say
also
je ne sais quoi, you know?
yeah, yeah, and the game
Yeah.
also teaches you to have a good pal team. Like you cannot just go to the first boss with just some low level pals and get in there. As I learned the hard way,
Dumbass.
they mess you up pretty well. Yes, because I did it myself. But if
And
you level up more and you level up your pals, it's really easy
Mhm.
once you get stronger. You know?
No, yeah, I fought the
yeah.
boss when just like earlier today. I fought the boss and I'm level 20. Now, I fought the boss at level 20, but I I I'm pretty sure like the boss is actually level 10. So
Yeah.
I was like a bit over leveled, but it was still a difficult boss regardless. Cuz like they still do some decent damage, and they can still fuck you up if you're not careful, which I
And
like.
that's another thing that, and I think that's another thing that Pokemon is honestly failing to do, because as I'm playing it's like with multiple of their newer games, they've been making it extremely easy to catch Pokemon, to um level up your Pokemon. Like I was going up against this one over in Violet,
Mhm.
and
I
it
also have
I
I
just
have
threw a
Scarlet.
normal Pokeball, and I just threw a normal Pokeball without even damaging it, and I
Mhm.
already caught it. Like they're making it too easy. They're getting rid of the feeling and the actual adventure.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what I've been thinking too. It's just Pokemon has become too easy, which I don't mind a Pokemon game being easy. I could understand they want ease of access, right? But like, there's a difference between ease of access where anyone can get into it to, oh wow, this is way too fucking easy, you know?
Yeah,
Like you can still have a challenge while also letting players be able to get into the game. You know, there's again, like I said, there's a difference to it.
and they're just making it way too easy for multiple people.
Hmm.
Way too easy.
And
Like there's
yeah,
like the feeling of that old style Pokemon game just isn't there anymore, and it makes me sad.
yeah, and like I'll be honest, one feature of the newer Pokemon games that I both like slash hate is the how the newer games you can, what's the word, what was I looking for, you can level up your Pokemon at the same time. You don't have to like switch them out constantly to level them up. No, they can all level up together at the same time, which I like because it's like, oh, thank God, I don't have to keep constantly switch to each one. But at the same time, it makes it easier for your entire team to level up, and then they become just overpowered in like a matter of, like, I want to say like in
Seconds
a
almost.
matter of seconds, like in an hour, half an hour, you know. While in the older games, you had to switch up your teammates. You had to constantly change to each. But you had to use your entire team. You didn't have to just go one Pokemon in your team. You had to use your entire team, level each one of them individually up to get that perfect team that you wanted. It would, I mean, this game also kind of does what the new game does, where they level up with you and everything. But for this, it kind of works because of the type of game it is. It's not like strictly battle each other's Pokemons or pals, but this is also a survival game, and you know, it's very, yeah.
And what I do like about it is that they don't, with the Pokemon games, they leveled up rather quickly, like you
Mhm.
said. With
Yeah.
this one, yes, they level up quickly, but that's because of how many things you do to level them up.
No, yeah.
With Pokemon, you either give them like those rare candies or
Or you
you
battle.
battle.
For this,
Right.
Yeah.
you
Which
battle, you
you
hunt, you
build, you
build,
craft, and all of that
just
gives them
survive.
very little XP, but it gives them XP nonetheless, which I do like.
Exactly. And but one thing that we do have to get into with Pal World, is the controversy. The,
Oh, the
Oh
controversy.
and
boy.
I'm gonna let you take this bit for a bit. I'm gonna let you take the reins for a bit of this, Bane. You, because like I know you know a bit more about it than I do.
Yeah, the controversy of it is just, of course, when you look if you look at some of the pals, like take Cremis for
Mm-hmm.
example, it's to most people it's an Eevee ripoff, and I see their point. It literally almost has the head of Eevee, and this is one of the things that really ticked the Pokemon Company and Nintendo off. And so, a few days after Power World was released and it started gaining popularity, that's when they started to do investigations to try and figure out, can we sue them. Now, the thing about it is that the thing about it I really love is, okay, have either of you heard of the "We Don't Talk About Pyro" song made by Med Excalibur as a kind of parody of the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song?
I have
Yeah.
not heard that.
But I haven't heard it, but I haven't like listened to it, but I did heard about it. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
haven't. I'm just thinking of me as like someone who doesn't know either because I haven't. I don't
well,
know.
okay, so for what it is, it's just it's a TF2 parody
Mhm.
of the We Don't Talk About Bruno song from Encanto. Now,
Okay.
as this song developed, it got super duper popular. You know, it was one of Met Excalibur's most popular songs. Um, and later on, Disney came into the mix and copyrighted it. Here's a little thing some people don't know about it being copyrighted. Now, if somebody copyrights something, that basically is saying you can't make this because we own it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, funny thing. Um, this is what I think Nintendo doesn't realize. If or when Disney copyrighted that We Don't Talk About Pyro song, they basically stated that that TF2 exists in the Encanto universe. So the thing is, if Nintendo sues them and they do it the same way that Disney did, then they're saying that all the things that are in Palworld exist. And
Within
you know,
Pokemon.
all the yeah, within the Pokemon universe. And the thing is, this can happen one of two ways. Go on about one of two ways. Either they don't allow this to happen and they cancel the game and if it's outright. And you said how many people had this game within its first
Around
few weeks?
in the first 6 days, it reached over
6 days,
two
yeah.
million. Two
Over
million
2 million.
complete.
Now if they cancel this game, that's about 2 million people that are going to be demanding refund or demanding their money back, and they're going to be incredibly mad at the Nintendo company, and that's just going to be more lashing out for them that they have to deal with. But then there's also another way that they can do this. They can completely change up the game, try and make things still fun, which I highly doubt they would do, but they would still have to change up the game in almost every aspect of it just to
Yeah,
say, hey, we don't own any of this.
they would have to take out all the unique stuff about it.
Exactly. So for right now, they're just trying to figure out what can we sue about this game. And there's only been one instance where somebody had their content taken down because of what they did, and that was the mods that came out
Ah,
talking
yeah,
about
I know about the
the
mod. Yeah, I've seen
yeah
it.
yeah, and that was the only instance that Nintendo has actually intervened in Palworld, but they didn't actually take any instance against Palworld in of itself. They only went after the mod, which is something good that Nintendo has been doing. I respect them for that. They're not going after the game, they're going after the mods.
Which
But
makes
Yeah,
even
sense. Which
so,
makes sense because the mod.
the mod
Mm,
does go after other things, but it really does make you think just how long is it going to take until Pokemon decides, hey, we found this out about the game, we're going to go after this. Which, again, I highly doubt that they'll do. Yes, the Power World is a game in which there are so many pals that look incredibly like the
very,
Pokemon.
very
very
similar.
large.
There's
Exactly.
a lot
But
that look
again,
incredibly similar, but there's also a lot that are pretty unique looking.
yeah. And it's just it's something that Pokemon is, in my own words, this is going to sound a little strange, but in my own words, I believe that the reason Power World exists is slightly because of Nintendo's fault. Take a look at older Pokemon games. When you played them, you felt the thrill of battle. You felt the thrill of going around, finding these Pokemon. And they've kind of gotten rid of that with some of the new ones. For example, my very first Pokemon game was Alpha Sapphire, I believe. And I felt the thrill of Pokemon battling. I felt the thrill of getting that Pokemon down just so close to where you can catch it, but not enough to actually faint it. And you lose out on catching that Pokemon.
Yeah.
I felt the thrill of that. And then I start playing a little bit more, and then I find a game, the Pokemon Pikachu and Pokemon Eevee, those two games.
Yeah.
I liked it, but the thing about it was the fact that you're just throwing Pokeball after Pokeball after Pokeball. you're not really
Yeah,
battling.
because
It's
it
just
was just taking the page after Pokemon Go, which I
yeah,
mean, let's be
and
honest,
like
there's not much to it.
but yeah, Pokemon Go, the one game that almost killed a bunch of people because they didn't look up at where they were heading. They just wanted to chase after that one Pokemon.
Yeah.
But um and this trend of just throwing the Pokeball kind of progressed on until we got to Violet. And Pokemon doesn't feel like Pokemon anymore. It
Hmm.
feels, yes, it feels more kid friendly, and I get that they're trying to go after that genre of people. The problem is, though, they're losing out on people who grew up with this game, who grew up
Hmm.
watching Pokemon, who grew up playing the original Pokemon games. They're losing out on that.
No, yeah.
So, when a game like Palworld came out, you're now getting, the older people who played the old versions of Pokemon. You're getting them onto this game because now you have that thrill of the hunt, shall I say, of
Literally.
finding those different, literally
Yeah.
sometimes, where you're trying to find.
Hmm. Bane?
I
Oh,
think we. Oh,
hey,
I think we lost him.
did we lose him?
I think we may lost him.
Well, ooh, I guess we lost him.
Oh boy.
Um, I think, wow, I've never had this happen with a student before. Oh. But I guess, you know what? Let's just transition to the next bit just for now, at least,
Hmm.
till we can get him back. Um,
Yeah.
we gotta talk about the gameplay because the gameplay's fun. And I'm gonna let you take this, Rebel, since you've been playing it a lot recently, and I have it up here. And I mean, people could obviously see it, but how would you explain the gameplay to
Well,
someone who's never heard of the game?
okay. Well, to explain it, the gameplay feels pretty nice. It has a little bit of the Breath of the Wild. You gotta worry about your stamina. You gotta worry about how, your weight. The usual things, right?
Hmm.
As Breath of the Wild, and obviously it has that Pokemon feeling, or that Dragon Quest feeling where you capture your pals, you build your base to be stronger, all that stuff. And also, I'll admit, it also has a little bit of that Genshin Impact stuff.
Hmm.
But it's it's gameplay that I like. Like I'll be honest, I haven't played Pokemon in a long time. The last time I played it was like in the DS, and I stopped playing it because you know.
Yeah.
But I heard about Power. I'm like, okay, well, this has that Pokemon feeling to it, so I feel like it's right. Let's see what this game is all about. So I buy it after seeing, because I know I bought the game the first time for, as I said, it shits and giggles.
Hmm.
But I buy it, I'm like, you know what? This game is actually not as bad. And then I'm seeing the controversy of it copying Pokemon and all that stuff, and I don't really see it because you don't see Pokemon with guns and with enslaving them and all that stuff, right?
Hmm.
So I don't really see it because I got a couple of people who said, oh, it's copying Pokemon, oh, it's using AI and all that stuff. But again, I just don't see it. But if you, in my opinion, I like the gameplay. It feels pretty good. It feels pretty fresh,
Yeah.
Because I haven't really bought an actual good game in a very long time. This is actually one of the first few times where I actually buying a game that I wanted to try, and I love it. I enjoy it. Gameplay's good. It feels fresh. Because I have to work hard to get my pals, right? Like, it's not just capture them with a Pokeball and you're done. No, you have to work hard to get those pals. Like, do you want to capture them? Do you
Hmm.
want to kill them? It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, safe to say, I love the gameplay. I feel like it's fresh, It's fresher than any other game I've been playing for a while. And I
Hmm.
feel like with probably with the future updates and everything, I hope that this game gets better and we get more tactics on how to capture pals and everything. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's nice.
Yeah. No. the gameplay reminds me a lot of Ark. I mean, like there's a lot of mechanics. I'm like, oh, this is straight up just Ark, but with
Mm-hmm.
with that Pokemon flair as well as the Breath of Wild stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing because like
Mm-hmm.
I loved Ark. I really do like Ark. Ark is an amazing game that I think a lot of people should play.
Mm-hmm.
But like you when you see a game do this well, there has to be
Here we
something
go.
about it. Oh, you're back.
There you
Yeah,
are.
sorry about that.
What
My
happened?
internet had somehow died.
Oh my god. All right. We
Uh,
just got to the gameplay part.
Yeah,
Cuz
no. I overheard on my phone.
yeah, no. So we were just talking about how like how would you describe the game to someone who's never played it or who's thinking about playing it? I've already asked Rebel, but how would you describe it?
Um, I would describe it as more. I would warn people at first because,
Mm.
like, okay, if you look at this from, say, if you're telling this to like someone who sees all of the angles of Pokemon, like I do, I like to look at all the different perspectives.
Mm.
If you look at somebody who looks at everything, they're fine with it because, like, this is a game that was kind of expected. Um, it just kind of takes the meme stance of Pokemon with guns, but
Mhm.
it also kind of shows you. It also kind of shows you a side of Pokemon that you wouldn't normally see. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is the fact that technically speaking, who's to say that there aren't some Pokemon that don't eat other Pokemon? And who's to say that way back in Pokemon's time, before like all the other games, who's to say that we didn't hunt Pokemon either? I mean, you hear a lot of times in like the different like Pokedexes about all these other dark things of Pokemon that we don't really get to see. So I guess this kind of shows that side. But again, that's another thing. That's why you're going to be careful about who you're talking this to. If you're talking to
Mhm.
somebody who has all the angles, this is just a perfect game for them. It's fine. It's
Mhm.
just a game that really shows different sides of what the Pokemon universe could be. But if you're talking to it with somebody who's light-hearted, shall we say, then you're
Mhm.
gonna want to warn them about what this game entails from not just the hunting of pals, but the more darker sides of this game that some people out there don't really see.
Yeah. I'm guessing you were talking about the black market guy. How you can how you can sell him, the pals and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
that
How you can also sell him humans.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you.
And that-
That was an aspect of this game. Like, okay, I thought that there would be like thugs and everything like that in this game because I mean Team Rocket, they were technically thugs in the Pokemon universe. I
yeah.
mean they were always trying to go after Pokemon, but you didn't catch them.
Yeah, it is
yeah.
that's the one thing in Pokemon games you couldn't do. You couldn't catch a human. But in
Nor enslave them.
Palworld, you can catch them and you could force them to be your workers pretty much, which I thought was insane, but I was like, it's unique, you know.
And you can also, once they've run their course, you could
Butcher them.
get. But yeah, I was about to say just get rid of them, but yeah, put plainly and simply, butcher them. And again, I'm trying to figure out what the heck was going through the minds of the people that make this game when they decide. Because, like, when I'm thinking butchering them, I'm thinking, like, oh, screen cuts to black. Possibly, maybe, you hear the sounds of chopping.
Hmm.
There's a full blown. It's blurred, but there's a full blown animation for it.
There is an animation for it. Yeah,
There is an
I watched.
animation.
I decided to test it out, and because I was curious, like, what does it look like? And I was, I won't lie, I was surprised that there was an actual animation for it. Sure,
Yeah, and
sure it's blurred, but it's like there's an animation for it, which means
And
they were
yeah,
like,
it's just so weird. And like that's one of the reasons. Like okay, with someone like me, it
Mhm.
takes quite a bit for me to get really immersed into a game.
Mhm.
Say with a normal game like Skyrim. Okay, I'm just wandering around from place to place, swinging my sword, firing arrows and tossing spells. It's not really a game I could get immersed with. But when I feel like I'm really one with the environment, when I feel like I'm one with the NPCs there, I
Mhm.
really do get immersed in it. And that's one of the reasons, like, why I'm so apprehensive about the a butchering part of it.
Mhm.
Because you know a game has done good when you really, again, you really do feel like you're a part of the game. And I don't know. I know that I could get things out of it. I know that I could deplete my unnecessary workforce, shall we say.
Mhm.
But I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like when I found out about that, I was like, oh, we can do that. Oh,
Oh,
it was
well, no.
it was just weird because I also felt apprehensive. I was like, I could I could capture people, make them basically my workforce forcefully, and I was like, Jesus,
And
this
I wasn't really that upset about like, selling them.
no,
Because I
I'm
mean,
not.
you can just
I don't
capture
care about
you
them.
can just capture more. But
Yeah, exactly. But it's
the
like it's
butchering part is less of like if the screen went to black and again you just heard the chopping. I would probably wince at that, but I wouldn't think anything less. I mean, I can get another one.
mm-hmm.
But the animation, like even with it blurred, I don't mean to get dark, but even with the blur, even with all
Mm-hmm.
that trying to mask it, you can still see and almost feel everything that the pal's going through in my perspective. Like it takes a lot for me to get immersed into a game, but
No, yeah.
jeez.
No, again, it's like it's just this aspect of it that you never really think because like I could totally believe something like that probably has happened in the
The Pokemon universe, yeah.
of like them cooking and eating the fucking Pokemons because they had to survive at some point. They have to get their food somewhere, and I doubt they're all vegans and they make plant based food. I mean, I'm sure there are vegans in there, but it's like I doubt everyone in the Pokemon universe is a vegan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
You
I
know.
mean, it's another thing. Again, like this whole thing about in Palworld you can capture and enslave them. Now, this is a little something I talked about in like a TikTok post that I made about
Hmm.
how take a look at Ash. He never really caught any Pokemon. He captured a few, but most of the time it was just him like
Befriending them.
befriending them, and then they accept him with wide open arms. However, with everybody else, they had to fight, and then they had to capture them unwillingly, by the way.
Yeah.
And technically speaking, they did force them to fight. I mean, with Ash's Pokemon, they trusted him enough, and they believed in him enough to do all these different things.
Hmm.
But even so, it just makes you really think. You're not a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, we're doing this to them. Oh, that's so bad that we're hurting them like this," and all that. You're not. You're just doing things that Ash would have done had he had the power to.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically doing things that Ash would do if he didn't befriend the Pokemons. If he was just a normal, if he wasn't a protagonist in this anime, you know, he's
Then he
just
would have gone after them, captured them, technically speaking, enslaved them,
yeah,
and done all these different things. It's no different than what Ash would have done, like you said.
exactly, and like, and not just that, it's just yeah, it's just no different, and it's just, but it puts you in that perspective. It's like if you were in the Pokemon world, this stuff would happen. People would hunt Pokemon. I'm sure there's people who do that.
Mhm.
Because, like, again, they have to make food somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, now that reminds me. You know how in the how in the later Pokemon games you cook your food like in one of those camps, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're getting at.
Y yeah. Like, where do you think you get, like for example, like
The
the
meat.
sausage and the meat
Yeah.
and everything, right? The
Yeah,
only
Mhm.
because
animals around are Pokemon.
yeah, because in the Pokemon universe, there's no normal animals. We never see a normal cow or a normal cat. It's
We just
all
see Pokemon.
yeah. We see
Though I
we see
swear at
meow.
one point I did see a normal fish, but I don't know.
So
I've
tech,
never seen one normal fucking animal in the entire anime or in any of the games. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
just like it's all Pokemons. So it's like
Yeah.
So
so it really begs that question: where do they get their food?
Exactly.
obviously Pokemons are more basically more like just animals with superpowers. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
They're
you,
still just animals.
yeah, like sure you can befriend them and everything, but at the end of the day, they're still animals. You can easily just chop them up and cook them.
yeah.
And I mean, like, there's already been animations of that. There's plenty of animations for it.
Oh yeah, you
But
can
I
see
get
that
what you're
everywhere.
saying, yeah.
hmm
Hmm.
So Pal World is basically just the same thing. There's animals with powers. You can either just put them in your base to help you around base, or you can just kill them and cook them up for dinner. Simple as that.
Pretty much, yeah. There's nothing really that different about it. It's just, all it is just showing, dare I say, the true side of what Pokemon is, even without doing all of this.
hmm
Hmm.
And we get it. Pokemon are supposed to be kid friendly. Don't want to show you the dark stuff. But either way, the Pokedex shows you the dark stuff
Yeah, the
anyways.
Pokedex has some dark entries. Like
I
Like,
think I
like
remembered,
there's the Lift Bloom one where
yeah, the Driftbloom where the
it kidnaps children and it hates fat kids because
yeah, I
it can't
literally was
kidnap fat
about to
kids.
just say, and I think there's been a few Pokemon entries where it does talk about like how like parts of them are sold at the black market, or they even talk about that at, like in the series. If I remember at one point,
Hmm.
they were talking about stuff like that, and you even see Pokemon in cages being sold off to others. There's enough. It shows you the dark side, yeah, but it also always shows like like oh the protagonist comes in to save the day. Oh this entire market's been dealt with. All we're doing in Pal World is the exact same thing, like it or not. If a
mhm.
Pokemon or if a Pal becomes not useful to you anymore and you've run out of space, what else is there to do?
You just do what you gotta do.
So or you can either keep it in your inventory for if you need for later, or you could just do the easy way out, just butcher.
Exactly.
And
I
get the
mean,
resources
you're
that you get when you do.
yeah, there's nothing really different about anything. I mean, sure, yeah, you could keep it, but sometimes you need the resources. Again, it's a survival game. It's not a oh wander around and yeah you can eat, but you'll also get power ups from it like Pokemon's does. No, no, no,
No,
no.
no,
This is
this
a
is
survival
yeah,
game.
exactly. It's a survival game, and that's what I think some people forget that it's a game. It's a survival game. You know,
Yeah,
you're surviving. You're surviving the elements of this harsh world where, hey, you gotta force the animals to work for you, or you gotta butcher them. You know, you're in this harsh environment. You know, it might be a beautiful environment, but it's harsh.
Yeah, and Pokemon is just as beautiful, but either way, we still hunt down Pokemon for their meat and everything, because we gotta survive, right?
Yeah. Well, that's a Power World, not Pokemon. You don't hunt Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah.
actually, as a matter of fact,
Oh.
I forget what version. It was the one before. It was the one that had the Gigantamax in it. Where you just make your
Oh,
Pokemon
that's
bigger.
Sword and Shield.
Sword and
Yeah, so
Shield, yes. If I remember correctly, there was, I believe this is like the only instance where Pokemon has technically gone this far. But some of the Pokemon that you do go after when you defeat them, you do get not like their meat necessarily, but you do get parts of them, like that one duck Pokemon that's got the
Mm-hmm.
celery stick thing.
Yeah.
You do technically, and after you defeat it, you do technically get that celery stick to cook for your meals. That's just an
Mm.
instance. That's like a small instance of showing you what the dark side of Pokemon really is. But again, they try to make it kid friendly. They don't show. They don't really go into, like actually, eating them necessarily. You only eat like parts of them, or you collect different things from them.
Yeah.
But that's really only been the small amount of a dark side of Pokemon that has ever been shown.
Yeah.
And I do find that rather interesting, honestly.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
it is very interesting. And, ooh, I just found a lava area where I found Arsox. I also just caught a Kelpsie. Nice. Sorry.
Oh, good. No,
Um,
you're good. You're good.
but you don't see. Ooh, what's that? But you don't see these things often, and it's great to like see the dark side, in my opinion, because I've always wondered. I've always wondered about it, you know. I've always thought like, oh, what would the dark side of Pokemon look like? You know? And this game kind of answers that question for me.
Yeah, I mean, it does, because there's been legends galore. There's been all sorts of different dark things of Pokemon that are shown in like legends and stuff in like the or in the series or in like the small films that they make. But again, you don't see the true dark side of it. It's just a glimpse of things.
Yeah, you're just seeing like little snippets. You know, you're not seeing the entirety of it.
Yeah.
And I get why they don't want to do that, because I mean, well, that would kind of ruin everything that they built.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it's supposed to be kid friendly. But there are with some of the things that they're doing, I'm sorry to say, they're making it too kid friendly.
Yeah. They're really kind of
Ruining the feel of it.
yeah, ruining the feel of it in a way. They're taking away that what you would say that market for them in terms of the adults, because their classic fans is part of the market for them. You know, as much as they seem to want to deny it, that's their biggest market. Sure, it's the kids, but it's also the fans that grew up playing Pokemon and watching Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, and now you just have this whole other thing where it's just super duper easy to go just capture a Pokemon. And I will be honest, I do somewhat understand why they did that. It's mostly just due to the fact that with every new entry of Pokemon that they come out with, that's like 50 more Pokemon you have to go after, not to mention the shiny variants and all sorts of other things. But again, there's not that feel of it anymore. There's not the feel of just like, hey, that's a new Pokemon that I have to go catch, but I gotta be very careful about how I do this. Picking out the right Pokemon and doing all sorts
since
of
you
stuff
might
like
not
that.
know the type yet. Even then, like, I mean, it's always obvious to know what type of Pokemon
Yeah, it's
it
always
is.
obvious.
But
I
even
mean,
then,
sure, yeah, they have that like one type that you just weren't expecting from this Pokemon.
yeah,
But most of the time, it is obvious.
yeah, like even in this game, there's it's obvious what types these Pokemons are because they're usually color coordinated. But
Yeah.
even then, it's kind of interesting to see their designs and how their type plays into their designs.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And as a question from me, for both of you, how would you feel like the grind of this game is, trying to get all those different levels? Because that's a thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the difference between the grind from this and the grind from the newer versions of Pokemon. So, in your own words, how would you feel the grind of Palworld would be? Trying to get those levels, trying to
Okay.
get those items.
For me, I would say like the grind doesn't seem that bad because like I mean I guess for me it's mainly because like I'm used to survival games. I don't play them frequently, but I've played them enough, and I've played enough of them where it's like survival grind isn't that terrible to me anymore as much as it used to be. But this has a good balance to it in my opinion. You get your resources pretty easily, and then you have these creatures that help you get the resources. And it's not like an arc where like you got to do a bunch of bullshit just to be able
Get
to
what you need.
to
Get
get
what you
what you
need.
need and to be able to kind of tame an animal, because in that one you got
Yeah,
to do like a bunch of bullcrap just to tame a dinosaur,
yeah.
just to tame like one velociraptor or even a dodo. You got to do a bunch of bullcrap. You got to find its perfect food. You got to learn some certain things, and then maybe you'll be able to frickin'
Capture it or
cap
tame it.
to tame it. And this one just beat it senseless for a little bit.
Pretty much.
Beat is senseless.
Beat it up a little. Oh shoot! Oh god! I'm about to get kamikaze. Oh
You ran into the Toko Tokos or whatever
no!
the hell
Bee
they're called.
guard.
Yeah,
It's a bee.
the kamikaze dodos.
Oh,
It's a
there's.
bee fucker.
Oh God. So, what about for you, Rebel? How would you feel that the grind is like?
The grind is pretty good. I'll admit, I haven't really had any frustrating times where I'm like, oh, I hate the grind. I want to. Like, the leveling up system is pretty good. I'm gonna want to consider that as Subnautica a little bit. You know how in Subnautica you slowly go around exploring the ocean, collecting parts that you need so you can build, for example, the sea moth and
Hmm.
the submarine and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I would say the pals world is basically the same thing. Like you go around, you collect, your first pals, you build your small base, you level up your pal
Hello.
box, and then you,
Mm-hmm.
well, get better. It's basically just like Minecraft, where you expand, you build your the stuff you need and everything. And
Yeah.
I'll admit, I love the grind. The grind's pretty good because I get to explore, get to collect new pals, you level up and
There.
everything and and all that cool stuff. And I'll admit, I haven't really butchered any of my pals because I don't have the guts to do such a thing.
Pussy.
So,
Same.
so, so
Mm-hmm.
I explore, I collect new pals, I collect whatever pal spheres I can find and
Mm-hmm.
everything's good. So
Yeah.
I like it because it's not as frustrating as, for example, like Call of Duty, where you gotta grind one gun to get this other attachment, but you need this other gun to grind that other attachment. You don't like. Here's simple: just level up, and you'll get the technology, and choose whatever you want, right? Whatever you feel like you need, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the fast travel is good. Like you go to the statues and you get them. Kind of similar to Breath of the Wild. So I like how they took all these mechanics from like Breath of the Wild and Pokemon and Ark and all that stuff and fused it together to make their own thing. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's
I
it's
kind of
innovative.
yeah. I kind of actually want to get into that real quick. I hate when people say, "Oh, this game has this mechanic or this aspect, therefore it's a ripoff." I hate that.
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
There can be things where there's obvious ripoffs, right?
Mhm.
But in order for the gaming industry to evolve as a whole, as well as just games to evolve, they have to take bits and pieces from each other to create
Exactly.
something new.
Thank
For
you.
instance,
See,
this like this, it takes bits and pieces from Ark, Breath of the Wild, Pokemon, and many other titles and survival aspects, and it molds it into this unique game where it takes the
And
good
that
stuff,
does.
it takes the good stuff from each, and maybe a couple of the flaws, but that happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it mainly takes all the good stuff from each, and it combines them to make this beast of a game. You know.
Yeah, and that's another point that I did want to get to. But my main thing about the grind was like, if you look at another thing is like, if you look at the difference between or new Pokemon grind, lag. If you look at the difference between new Pokemon grind and um this, in the new Pokemon, you literally just bring out your Pokemon, tell them attack this, and it does an automatic battle, whether you win or lose, and there's XP, there's items and everything. At least in this, you do um you do fight. Yeah, they're weak, but you do fight, you do scavenge, you build, and all of that does get you EXP. Small it may be, but you get EXP nonetheless, and that is one thing I do like about how easy the grind can be. And what you were saying, what you guys were saying about how, like, yeah, things need to take bits and pieces of other games to create something new. It's kind of what the gaming industry has been missing out on, honestly. Take Baldur's Gate 3, for example. The gaming industry literally told them, you need to stop what you're doing. You're making, and I'm going to put this as plainly as possible, too good of a game. They literally told them, you're making too good of a game. You need to cut it back because this is taking it way too far of what people expect for games. Isn't that what innovation technically is? Making something that nobody thought would be possible, making something that blows away people's minds in order to create something so spectacular, something so seemingly unachievable, to bring fun to people, to make them feel brand new things. No, we're holding ourselves back thinking, oh, if we hold ourselves back, we're just going to make more and more money, and people are used to what we have, so let's just give them this. But no, we need that innovation these days. We need something new and exciting. Again, something Palworld and Baldur's Gate 3 have brought to us. But most other game companies have just said, no, we can't do this. That's way too much for us. That's too much that the gaming community expects from us.
No,
Just
yeah.
a little thing that I find both frustrating but also very interesting, that they've said, hey, we're not gonna do this because it's too much for us.
Yeah.
And I want to continue that whole innovation thing. Like, I guess I could use like a lot of examples for innovation. For example, let's go with Battle Royale, for example. You know how in Battle Royale, when you die, it's game over for you, right? You just gotta spectate your teammate until they die or until they win, right?
Yep.
And then I don't know. I think it was either Apex Legends or Fortnite that introduced the ability for you to revive your teammates during the fight. And then Warzone comes around in around 2020 or so and innovates on that for like, oh, you want a second chance? You can go to the gulag, beat this player, and you're back. Or your teammates can buy you back, you know. So innovation can be really good if you know what you're doing. Just like as you said, Baldur's Gate has really knocked things out of the water, and gaming companies are just too lazy to make anything that good. And then you got Palworld that combines a lot of the good things and bad things of other games, and just makes it its own thing, and it just works because it's new, it's fresh. It's like cooking. So it's like, let's say you grab like an old recipe and you innovate on it, and it tastes even better. But then if you grab that same recipe, you start dumping random crap in there and you hope that it tastes better. It's not. It's gonna taste like pure garbage. So innovation is important, but it's how you use the innovation of other games to make it better.
Precisely.
You are completely correct. Yes. It's how you do it. It's not what you do. It's how you do it.
Exactly.
Because
Or
you
you said, Rebel, you could easily just mix in a bunch of random ingredients, or kind of like what the people at, say, Call of Duty Modern Warfare are doing, and dump in the same thing, saying, "Oh, this is new. You changed it up a bit, but it's just the same thing." You're not innovating, you're just recreating.
Thank you.
Yes. And that kind of gives us to the last couple points I do want to make is what are our likes and dislikes of the game? Like, Drake, what are the things you like about this game, and what are the things you don't really like, and what would you want to see come out from this entire kind of
In
thing?
simple word, or in the most simple point I can get without taking up too much time, I would say what I do like about this game is one, the exploration. I mean, it's a beautifully crafted world.
Mm-hmm.
They really put thought into what the world looks like. You can really feel like, hey, there's going to be certain pals in this area, or there's going to be pals in this area.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the building and almost tycoon kind of feel to this, because yeah, there's a moment once you level up far enough, once you beat enough uh creatures, or earn enough technology points, you can almost innovate things and automate a lot of it and just turn a whole base into just a mega factory. That's another thing I do like about it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I don't like about the game, however, and I'm sure you both can agree with me on this, is the darn pathfinding of multiple of the pals.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is just mostly just programming, but still, hopefully they fix that at some point.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of what I would love to see from the game is, moreover, just, I guess, more things to build, or more things to build, a little bit easier on the building aspect, because there's a lot of moments when it just seems pretty hard for me to place down just either a simple contraption or a wall or whatever. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to see them go a bit further into that, try and fix that up a little bit. It would be nice. And the other thing I would like to see is, in all honesty, just more pals, more creatures to explore, and um hunts.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What about you, Rebel? What would you like to see? And what are your likes and dislikes?
Okay, well, I'm gonna go with a lot with what our other students said earlier.
Yes,
but
yes, yes.
but yeah, I do agree. Like, add more pals, add more things to do, and yes, please fix the building. But I guess another thing that I also would like to see is like them tweaking the raids a little bit, because because sometimes I see that the raids sometimes they tend to be random, and obviously that's expected. It's a raid, but sometimes that like level 18s will come out when you're like a level 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes a problem because they can easily destroy your raid because you can't do anything because you're a level 10 and that's a level 18 raid attacking you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do hope is that maybe, just maybe, they can fix it to where only enemies are either a bit lower than your rank or a little bit higher than your rank, like a level 12 or something,
Mm-hmm.
attack your base, and that way you can actually have a chance in protecting your place instead of just having level 20s attacking your base and just destroying everything because you couldn't defend it because you're not high level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I'm going to agree with a lot with what Bane said, and I'm just like tweak the raids a little bit, add some new pals and everything, add new stuff to build, and this game will probably become even better than Ark or even Pokemon, I would say. Other than that, that's all.
Yeah. I mean, you guys both said what I liked and disliked. I mean, I like the survival aspect. I love the way the pals work. I like how the resource gathering works. My only complaint is, like you said, the raids. They're a bit inconsistent. You know, like I can understand a raid being random and it's fine, but sometimes they do be like, oh, it's like these really high level things attacking you, and it's like, whoa, I'm only like a level 10. What's going on? You know, and then yeah, and like, yeah, it's like you really also got to think about where you are in your playthrough, like with what island you're in, because there are some areas where it's like there's high level pals in that area, so
Yeah, no kidding.
you gotta really be careful and watch what you're doing, or else
Say that again.
you'll be absolutely fucked. But yeah, and what I would love to see them add is, like you said, like more newer pals or just more stuff to do. You know, simple as that.
Honestly,
Simple as that. But I'd say like that's. I say we should just end it here, cause like we've been through a lot right now. We went through a lot of it, and I feel like we've covered almost everything. But just in case, I do have some more stuff about the game. The game exceeded, like I said, it exceeded 1 billion yen, and the company hired over 40 additional employees for this game.
That's great. That's great to
which
hear.
means that's a clear sign that they do have massive plans for
Mm-hmm.
the
No,
future of this game.
they definitely do, and yeah, look, and like we said earlier, how it's very much like art. According to the CEO, Takuro Mizobe, and I do apologize if I fucked up that pronunciation. The concept of Power World is based on Ark Survival Evolved, which also had monster companions, as the dinosaurs, and the survival mechanics and in-games tasks were inspired by Rust itself. So they took things from Ark, Rust, Pokemon, all this to create this beautiful game. And the game
At
looks
least, thankfully,
great
you don't
too.
have the toxicity that's from Rust.
Oh my god, hopefully so far there's no toxicity. And yeah, and
I mean, it does make me kind of a little
mhm,
disappointed at the fact that like people are already somewhat cheating in this game. It does
yeah.
make me a little disappointed about that. I mean, like, true, yeah, I'll admit, I will fully on admit, I have cheated in multiple games, but that's like with Cyberpunk. I
Yeah.
play the game once normally, I beat
Then,
it,
and then you do
and then I
cheats
just
and
like, you know
mods
what,
and
just
all this.
might as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, that's what I like
But
to do. But like this is like an online game for most part of it. It's like.
yeah, and like that's one thing I just don't like. Like
Hmm.
GTA, for example, people have been cheating in that game for I don't know how freaking long at this point.
Let's not forget
But
the economy in that game is garbage. Jesus.
oh my goodness gracious, don't even get me
But let's
started.
not get into that. Let's not get into that.
Yeah, but like people have been cheating in that game for so long. And like you have so many modders in that game and like it's like such a diversity with modders. You can't tell who's who because you'll sometimes get the modders that are like, "Hey, do you need money? I can help you out with this." Or you'll get the ones that just decide like, "Hey, I'm going to put on god mode. I'm going to put on infinite armor and
Hmm.
infinite ammo and then just to mess with everybody and think, "Oh, I'm the baddest guy around." Like I fully admit I do like some of the I do like some of the modders that like help you out because that's something I do like. Yeah, they're modding, yeah, they're cheating, but they're also trying to help out people. I'm
Hmm.
I'm fully appreciative of them, and if any of them are out there right now listening to this, believe me when I tell you I am very happy for the things you do because you've helped me so much in that darn game. But then there's
Yeah.
the ones that just decide to mess with everybody, and like it's the same thing in this game. Yeah, cheat all you want in this, get all the different pals, but don't make it impossible for everybody else to play. And if you take a look at like the roadmap for what's coming, you'll see on there's going to be a PvP arena mode, but then there's also the fact that they're trying to stop cheating, and it does make me a little worried. What's to come from this game? Like, yeah, you're gonna stop the cheating. Bravo to you guys. But it makes me worried how far will this modding, how far will this cheating go? Will it get
Hmm.
to a point where, like, people can hardly play, or will it just be, infinite armor or whatever the heck people come out with?
Hmm.
That's what I'm mostly worried about when it comes to this game.
Yeah, I could completely understand that because if they're gonna add a PvP arena, if you have people cheating, getting like the highest of pals and all the best armor just in 1 second, and it's like, oh yeah, cool. No, it's gonna kill the fun. Hmm. Other couple things about the game itself. The game's character animator was hired despite having no prior industry experience.
Didn't heard about that. That's
Yeah.
really bloody
Interesting.
amazing.
After Takuro Mizobe reached out to a hobbyist animator on YouTube who had been uploading combat animation videos and girls frontline fan content. I don't know what that is, but hey.
Oh,
I'm a
I
bit
know, I
scared
know
about
what that
that.
is. Okay, long story short, Girls Frontline is basically guns if there were anime girls.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
mod for Call of Duty Black Ops 3. I
God.
can show y'all later.
Okay, okay. The game's director, applied character designer for the PALs, was initially rejected during in an October 2020 recruitment drive for illustrators, but was hired when she reapplied in February 2021, which is pretty cool. You know,
Nice.
that's
Very
just some cool
nice.
stuff. The game early in development, it was a challenge for the team. Early in development, it was decided to move Palworld from Unity to Unreal Engine 4.
Nice. Very
So originally,
nice.
originally the game was gonna be in Unity, which I'm glad it didn't, because I don't think Unity could handle this in person.
Yeah, I don't think it would.
And then other stuff that says here, as they decided it was more suitable for heavier open world games, it was planned to be released in 2022, but the deadline was extended to August 2023 as the scope of the project grew and the company hired more staff. And then once again, support dedicated service on launch. Dedicated service, my bad. When early access began, the game was estimated to be 60% complete. Early access is right now, and it's 60% complete.
Now that
That.
does make you wonder what's going to be coming out soon.
No, exactly. Um, but yeah, that's any more information that I have from my research notes. So for now, that's gonna be it for this little I want to say lecture, I guess we can call it now.
Lecture. Perfect.
Oh my god. Yeah, so for now let's just see, students, thank you for joining the lecture. And Bane, please tell the other students where they can find you, your socials, if you're working on any projects currently that you want to share.
Yeah, y'all can find me over up on my YouTube channel, DragoBane. Y'all can also find me over on my TikTok, where I'll just be posting random stuff from time to time. I do want to quickly mention though, this year has been a little rough for me. From trying to find a job to just dealing with a few personal issues. So it may be just a little bit before I can fully release anything. However, I am currently working on a project for Palworld as turning it into a full-blown role-play series. I don't know how
Mm.
far the project will go. I don't know what will necessarily happen, mostly because of the fact that, yes, I have been playing Palworld on my off time. It's Palworld, okay? It's a big grind game, and it's so much fun to play. So between multiple episodes, I'll try and cover as much as I possibly can within the game. But again,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to try and fit so much into just one episode
Mm-hmm.
and say like, hey, we made a ton of progress. So if you are going to be watching, please bear with me, as it will have a lot of missing parts. You will see a lot of new pals, you'll see a lot of new buildings, but again, I will try my best to fit in as much information as I possibly can. But that being said, thank you so much for allowing me to be here, and for all the
Of
few others
course.
out there. Keep your fires burning. This is Bane signing out.
Ah, very nice, very nice. And Rebel, tell us about you, man. Like, what are your socials? Do you have anything planned, or are you planning anything?
Oh, I actually do, actually. Now, last year I told myself I was gonna be doing more Gmod animations, but I never got to that because me being me. But this year I thought, you know what, things are gonna be different, so I'm gonna start animating. As of right now, I'm still working on a current animation right now. I'm almost done with it, but my socials are my YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, the usual. You'll find me there, and hopefully I'll be able to make more animations every
Mm-hmm.
now and then. So, if to anyone who comes around, let's enjoy it together.
Yeah.
That'll be all.
What are your social again? Is like, is this your username, RebelInkling?
Yeah, Rebel Inkling 96.
All right, all right. And yeah, thank you again for both of you joining, and for everyone else watching. I'll see you next time, and I hope you all stay hydrated and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Yeah.